The clock is ticking against us, and the first weeks of the season could seal the fate of our franchise in an incredible or devastating way. Here's the critical point you need to understand. The success of our year depends on a single and frightening tactical condition behind the scenes. If our quarterback is forced to be a lone hero on every down to secure a victory, it proves that our rebuilding is an illusion and can be thrown in the trash today. And I challenge you, do you have the coldness to look beyond fanaticism and face the real limit of our roster today? If our team does not come out alive from this true test by fire against the biggest giants of the league, the entire season could go down the drain before it even starts. I will break down this cursed schedule and show you the survival plan shortly in the video. This takes us straight to the biggest and most dangerous question that absolutely no one in the media has the courage to ask about the young superstar leading our offense. We know he is capable of performing miracles with the ball, but is the rest of the roster strong enough to secure wins when he is playing only safely, without needing to pull off unbelievable miracles on the field? Hit the like button on the video, it's just a click, and it helps me a lot to keep bringing you the raw and naked truth about the Commanders. The fate of the Washington Commanders in 2026 will likely be decided before the bye week in Week 7. As a fan who follows every move, I know this stretch will be absolutely crucial. The stretch of games includes 3 division opponents, the current Super Bowl champion, a trip to London, and a visit to the West Coast, all before the bye week considerably. In the first 2 weeks, they will travel to face division rivals Philadelphia Eagles and Dallas Cowboys. The current Super Bowl champion, the Seattle Seahawks, will visit Northwest Stadium for the Commanders' first home game, before Washington crosses the Atlantic Ocean for a showdown against the Indianapolis Colts, clearly. Upon returning home, they will close out the first round of division games by hosting the New York Giants. To cap off this tough stretch in Week 6, they will travel to face another former playoff team, the San Francisco 49ers. Currently with odds of more than 200 to secure a playoff spot, it is crucial that Washington enters its bye week with at least a record of 3-3. To avoid falling significantly behind, the Commanders play 5 of their first 8 games against teams that reach the postseason in 2025. For a team coming off a 5-12 season with a coaching staff that may be under pressure, a good start is clearly imperative. With the first half of the schedule filled with divisional and conference matchups, securing early wins to help in various tiebreaker scenarios will make all the difference in November and December, considering the bigger picture. After the bye week, the Commanders face another daunting task, playing against the Eagles and the Giants for the second time, and hosting the Los Angeles Rams considerably. If Washington can finish this stretch with a record equal to or close to .500, they will be rewarded with a 3-game stretch against teams that did not qualify for the playoffs: Cincinnati Bengals, Arizona Cardinals, and Tennessee Titans clearly. The Cardinals are not seen as a threat to anyone. They are in rebuild mode again, and despite improvements to the roster, it is hard to imagine them competing with the Commanders. The pressure from Washington's defense should dominate this game, pressuring Jacoby Brissett or whoever is in charge of the offense. It should be a considerable dominant victory for the Commanders. Up until the start of training camp and preseason, every game on the schedule feels like a must-win, so that Washington doesn't fall too far behind in the standings. The team's success will depend on how Jaden Daniels overcomes adversity. If Dan Quinn can correct the mistakes made during last year's terrible campaign, the Washington Commanders already know what Jaden Daniels is capable of when he is at his best. The big question is whether they can win when the quarterback is just playing well. After 3 distinct injuries that limited Daniels to 7 games, and ultimately led Washington to move him away from the team, his health will continue to be the focal point of all discussions about the team. But that's not the only question the franchise will have to answer clearly. Washington needs to figure out what kind of team it is when Daniels is healthy and not in control of the game. Can they win when he throws for 180 yards and 1 touchdown, but doesn't create those 3 or 4 plays that only a few quarterbacks in the NFL can make? This could indeed be the biggest question Washington will face in 2026, even if no one is asking it in such a considerable way. Figuring out if the rest of the roster can keep the game under control without needing Daniels to play like Superman could be a big step for the coaching staff. Washington had no margin for error last season, clearly. Last season served not only as a reminder of the importance of Daniels to the team, but also of the importance of a deep roster considerably. It became clear how quickly everything can unravel when the team can't find easier ways to win or stop the opponent. Washington was outgained in total yards, 6,133 to 5,419. Opposing teams scored 52 points compared to 41 for the Commanders, and the team finished with a negative turnover margin of 13 clearly. Opponents also achieved 375 first downs compared to Washington's 323. These numbers show a team that rarely controlled the game. The offense could run the ball, but either abandoned that strategy or the situation didn't allow them to use it when necessary considerably. The defense had some success pressuring the opposing quarterback, but not enough to force teams off the field in crucial moments. When Daniels was unavailable, Washington had limited offensive options to turn the game around. If the 2026 Washington Commanders want to be taken seriously, this cannot happen again clearly. Having an elite quarterback gives teams an advantage, or at least it should. But when Plan A fails, Daniels shouldn't be the only thing the team can rely on. David Blough's offense is part of the solution considerably. After Cliff Kingsbury's departure, the Washington Commanders promoted David Blough instead of hiring an outside offensive coordinator. Blough served as the team's quarterbacks coach from February 2024 until taking over as interim or full-time quarterbacks coach on November 30th, 2025. After Tavita Pritchard left to become the head coach at Stanford University clearly. In other words, Blough had a meteoric rise. This preseason, the Washington Commanders have avoided disclosing details about Blough's offensive scheme, but some of the planned changes are already considerably clear. The Commanders are expected to use the no-huddle formation less, have Daniels as quarterback more frequently, and place greater emphasis on the ground game. Blough's experience with Ben Johnson and Kevin O'Connell has, to some degree, created the expectation that the Washington Commanders will utilize more motion and play-action plays to clearly create more favorable matchups. Daniels described his work with Blough as a collaborative process. He is the offensive coordinator, but we are building this offense together. The goal should be an offense that benefits from Daniels' skill without becoming reliant on him to break the game structure. There's absolutely no reason to significantly take away what makes their quarterback special. They just need to learn to control how often he is forced to use that skill. The running game needs to carry more weight. Last season, the Commanders rushed for 2,290 yards, averaging 4.7 yards per attempt clearly. Those numbers look good, but a productive total of rushing yards isn't the same as having a ground game capable of controlling the end of a close game. That's where Jack Krosky-Merritt, Richad White, Jerome Ford, Jeremy McNichols, and rookie Katrin Allen come in. Krosky-Merritt led Washington with 805 yards and 8 touchdowns as a rookie considerably. He showed enough for Blough to believe that the former 7th-round pick can become a starting running back in the NFL. But the Commanders also want him to improve as a receiver and pass protector before giving him a full-time starting role. Washington doesn't necessarily need a single running back to handle everything clearly. It needs the whole group to share the responsibility with Daniels. Can the Commanders convert a third down for 2 yards without using the quarterback's legs? Can they protect a lead in the fourth quarter when the defense knows the run is coming? Will one of the running backs be able to turn a short pass into an explosive play, instead of Daniels having to wait for a hole to open up in the field considerably? Those plays will say much more about the offense than yet another spectacular pass during training camp. The defense cannot make every possession feel necessary clearly. Adam Peters also addressed the issues from last season, rebuilding much of the defense. He added Odafe Oweh, Clavon Chason, and Charles Omenihu, with Oweh and Chason combining for 21 sacks last season, including the playoffs considerably. The Commanders then used the 7th overall pick to select linebacker Sonny Styles, adding even more speed to the defense. This doesn't guarantee that the defense will become one of the best in the NFL clearly. It should make the unit faster and give it more ways to pressure the opposing quarterback. Washington recorded only 8 interceptions last season and allowed 33 touchdown passes. The defense also gave up 2,411 rushing yards and averaged 4.8 yards per carry considerably. No offense can be expected to outscore those numbers every week. The defense doesn't need to become dominant overnight. But it needs to stop making every possession feel like a necessity for the Commanders to score clearly. An interception, a good field position, or a crucial stop in the last moment could be the difference between Daniels having to improvise a turnaround and Washington being able to finish the game normally. The answer will come on common Sundays from Daniels in a considerable way. Everyone will notice when Daniels throws for 300 yards, runs for another 70, and scores 4 touchdowns. The Commanders need to win the majority of those games. The most important test will come when he cannot clearly do so. There will be Sundays when Daniels misses a pass, the offense fails to advance in 3 plays, or the opposing defense nullifies Washington's initial game plan. The Commanders need to win more of those games than they lose. This could mean Krosky-Merritt and the running backs finishing a drive in the fourth quarter in a considerable way. It could mean Oweh forcing a fumble that gives the offense good field position. It could mean the secondary turning a contested pass into an interception, or the special teams forcing the opponent to go the length of the field. The best teams do not need their quarterback to be the best on the field every week, clearly. They have enough players around him to survive the games when he is not performing well. Daniels will still determine how far the Commanders can go. This comes with the fact of having a player capable of changing everything in Washington considerably. The rest of the roster will determine how often he will have to save them. So, fan, after discovering how the brutal early season schedule might define Dan Quinn's delicate situation, and understanding what the biggest question no one is asking about the Commanders is, whether they can win when Jaden Daniels is only playing well, what of these situations leaves you feeling more hopeful or concerned? Do you believe the Commanders can come out of the brutal stretch of the first 8 weeks with a 3-3 record or better, or will the tough schedule defeat the team? And more importantly, Do you trust that the rest of the roster can keep the game under control on Sundays when Jaden Daniels is not making those 3 or 4 special plays? Or are we doomed to see the team struggle when the quarterback cannot carry the team on his back? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think about the future of the Washington Commanders.